Yeah, I think it's a playoff team. Like, I think this is a play. I think they have a playoff roster despite losing Mike Williams, despite losing Keenan Allen.
Eckler.
I think it's set up in a way where he can win quickly.
Hmm.
And I would expect that they're going to be an 8, 9, 10 win team. And I think Jim expects that of himself and of his team, where they're going to be able to create a real identity. And to me, what's so unique about Jim Harbaugh, J Mac, is that there are very few coaches who have such an identifiable look to their team that travels with them wherever they go. And it looks exactly the same. And you know it when you see it. And what it looked like at Stanford is what it looked like at San Francisco, is what it looked like at Michigan. I expect that's what it's going to look like at the Chargers. I think it's going to be a team that's going to be very physical, that's built through the lines of scrimmage. You see the emphasis there with them deciding to take Joe Alt over Malik Neighbors with the 5th overall pick, despite having, a need at that receiver position and waiting until the second round to go and get a receiver. They got Lad McConkey. And I think by creating that sort of identity, they're going to make things easier on Justin Herbert. And I think by asking less of Justin Herbert, they're going to wind up getting more out of him. That's what Jim's always done with his quarterbacks. So, I think the offense is going to be more physical, better at running the ball. And I think you're going to get a better version of Justin Herbert as a result of that. And, again, you can see kind of the emphasis in what they're doing, right? And they had the 4 guys with big contracts: Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Joey Bosa, and Khalil Mack.
Hmm.
Who'd they hang on to? They hung on to Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa and let
Yeah.
Mike Williams and Keenan Allen go. That, again, shows an emphasis on the lines of scrimmage, and that should help them get it done with Jesse Minter's defense on the other side of the ball. So I think this team's going to be a bitch to play against
Hmm.
because they play differently than a lot of teams in today's NFL. And I think it's going to be a team that's going to be right there in the playoff hunt. From a roster standpoint, they may not be ready to compete for a championship, but I think that they very much can be in the playoff hunt year
Yeah.
one under Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a great point that he brings up about, Jim Harbaugh and the teams that he's built over the years at various places. And I think one of the major benefits that the Chargers now have and that Harbaugh brings is that they will have an indisputable identity, especially offensively. And that is something that the Chargers and a lot of teams that don't have, great coaches lack. And it's like you see this with a lot of teams, even teams that are winning and doing well. You're not sure. You saw this with the Eagles recently. It's like, who are they? Is Jalen Hurts a power running quarterback? Is he a pocket passer? Like, how are they going to try to win these games? Same thing with the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson. It's like, what is the identity of my quarterback, of my offense? Like, what is it? And because of that lack of clarity, they don't travel well on the road, or when they face adversity, you don't know what they're going to rely on, how they're going to game plan. And this was highlighted beautifully when it seemed like the Baltimore Ravens had that identity, and then of running a lot and being kind of more of like a run first team. And then they got to the playoffs against the Kansas City Chiefs and abandoned that. And it's like, that was you going against your identity. That's not what Harbaugh does. He sticks to his guns and he does it. And he makes sure that it's almost reminiscent of like what was it? What's the movie called? Remember the Titans, where they have like 5 plays and he just runs those like 5 plays again and again and again, I think is what happened or whatever. Whether that was accurate or not, I just remember, kind of that scene. And that's obviously not what Harbaugh's going to do, but it is this idea of like, this is who we are, and this is what we're going to work on. And this is what we are going to master. And this is what we are going to rely on when we are down by 9 on the road. When the weather is really bad and it's bitter freezing and it's December and this is a gotta have it win game, right? Like, this is what we rely on the adversity. This is what we rely on when we blow out bad teams, when we smack a good team in the face in the first half. Like, this is what we rely on. And because of that, it offers clarity. I'm so high on offering clarity because it's so important, especially in the NFL, when there's so many guys, so many players, so many coaches, so many moving parts, so many eyes, whether it be fans, media, ownership, whatever it may be. There's so much going on that when you can simplify things, when you can have clarity, an understanding of what your identity is, what the game plan is, and the game plan doesn't wildly change, and now you just don't know what you're going to expect, you can succeed. And especially when you know what you do well and you go play against a good team, you're confident in what you can do. It's like Steph Curry knowing that he's a great three-point shooter. Now when he's going up against a really good team, even if they're great at pushing people off the line, he still is confident, I'm a good three-point shooter. I don't need to fear this. This is what I do best. And now it's just going to be who can impose their will onto who. And so I think that's what Jim Harbaugh can bring to the Chargers, and definitely something that the Chargers have not had for years. It was just like, what is going on here? What the heck are we doing? What are we trying to do? We're the go for it team where we go for it on fourth down on our own, on our own 30. And it's like, that's who we are, and it's like, okay, how'd that work out for you? And that's not really an identity, quite honestly. That's just called poor decision making. So I just think that I think the playoffs are definitely realistic for the Chargers. I wouldn't say that it is a disappointment if they don't, because this does take time. Harbaugh can't just step in there and just magically flip the switch, because let's face it, the Chargers were in disarray, right? They were a big mess. So to me, I've always given them this like 1 to 2 to 3 year window. But I do think that playoffs is realistic, so to speak. But you're playing with a tough division, or a tough division and a tough conference, right? You do have obviously the Bills, the Ravens, the Texans, the Chiefs, right? Like there are a lot of teams, and if Trevor Lawrence is healthy, like you have to expect that team to be good. The Jaguars, same thing with Joe Burrow and the Bengals, as well as the Colts, Shane Steichen, especially if Richardson is healthy, that team could be good. So there's just potential for a lot of these teams still be good. So it's not going to be like a walk in the park necessarily. But I do think it's definitely possible for Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers. So my eyes are definitely going to be glued to their games to see what they can do and the identity that they establish for themselves and how it carries them forth. I think it just matters so much and really sets up not only Justin Herbert for success, but the Chargers as a whole. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? What do you think Jim Harbaugh brings, and what do you think the expectation should be for the Chargers? Playoffs, not playoffs, a deep playoff run? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.